Yo, what's up, everybody? We've got a brand new format. I am super pumped about the all-new DOYO Live Marketing Show. And I got two of my really good friends, people that I have a ton of respect for in the marketing, digital marketing, social media industry. Is it an industry? Anyway, I've got Deanna Fusillo from Sassy Girl Media, a three-time DOYO Live alum, hanging out with me, trying to help us launch this brand new show. And I've got Dhariana Lozano coming in from New York City, Supremacy Marketing, a true social media influencer according to Social Media Today, and a one-time DOYO Live alum. Ladies, what's up?
How are you?
So here's what I want to do. With the new format of the show, each week we've gone live over 250 times. We've rotated it around to different businesses. We've had various guests sitting right next to me. But we're going to take advantage of modern technology, and we're going to expand our audience, our reach. And we're going to now start doing something where we're going to try and have 4 guests on each week. And we're going to try and leave one seat open to really maximize the engagement of social media. So when people talk about engagement, here's what that means for us. We're going to give you, the people that are dropping by, watching the show, an opportunity to grab the link that I put into the comment section. You could click that. It will add you to the lobby, and you could come on and ask us any question that you want. So not only are you a viewer of the DOYO Live Marketing Show, you can actually be a participant. So if there's any brave souls out there that want to stop by, ask some questions about social media marketing in general, we are here for you to help solve your world. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I don't know. I think Dhariana and I are the brave souls coming on. We don't know what anyone's going to throw at us.
No, that's right up.
I never script anybody with really the topics that we're gonna try and discuss. I do try to give our audience, our viewership, an idea of what we're going to talk about. And today we're going to jump into actually a conversation to Deanna that we've had over the past couple of weeks about influencers, and that's a huge topic in the world of marketing today. A lot of different ways that we can go with this conversation. If you want to drop in, if you're watching the DOYO Live Marketing Show right now and you want to drop on by, ask a question about marketing, about influencers in general, or just say hi, go ahead and click that link. It'll put you into the lobby. In the meanwhile, Dhariana, let's start with you since you're our out-of-town guest.
Yeah.
What have you been up to? We had you on the DOYO Live Marketing Show a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
What have you been up to lately? What's going on in New York City?
Same old. Just keeping up with the pace here and doing social media for clients. I'm taking on more consulting clients and coaching clients right now as well. So expanding that a little bit. So it's been fun to kind of teach people one-on-one. It's not something that I've done so much in the past before. It's always been, give me all your stuff and we'll do it for you. It's different to be to teach someone and then watch them actually do what I tell them to and see, and they're getting results. So that's really exciting.
That's always exciting. And so, Deanna, before we catch up, let's talk about New York City for a moment. You've been to New York City?
Have I?
Yeah.
Heck, yes, I love New York City. I wanted to live there when I was like right out of college.
All right. So what's your go-to? What's your favorite thing about New York City?
You know what I really love about New York City is that everybody is who they are. You don't have to fit into a mold. You don't have to try to be in a clique or fit in any way. Like, they just have this freedom that that we don't in Youngstown, Ohio, to really be who they are, dress how they want to dress, do whatever. And it's so cool just walking down the street and you see some crazy things, like definitely crazy coming from a small town, right? But I also appreciate it because the creativity and what some people may look at as like just something like totally out of the box. Like, I'm just like, I love this like extreme creativity that I see everybody just running with. I love that.
Yeah. So I lived in Manhattan for 5 years. I followed that dream. I went for it. I lived there for 5 years and had just an amazing experience the time that I was there. And the things that I loved about New York City the most, number one, is the people. I love the diversity. I love the people. I love like people's opinions. They remind me a lot of people from Youngstown. Everybody's got an opinion. They're not afraid to share it. The second is the energy. And the third was like living there for 5 years. I got to experience things that, that you don't normally get if you're just there for a weekend. So, understanding the city that never sleeps is true, but like Sunday mornings are a little bit more sleepy in the neighborhood that I lived in, and the traffic wasn't quite there yet. Or, there were huge snowstorms. And what does New York look like on a Wednesday when there's a huge snowstorm? So those were things that I really enjoyed. There's amazing experiences around every corner. But in any case, love New York City. Love the fact that Dhariana came to DOYO Live last year. Deanna, catch us up to speed. What have you been up to?
I've been busy, as you know, because I've been busy. I'm busy. Same thing with Dhariana said. I mean, just keeping up with work. I do the one-on-one consulting, and then I also have the Startup Circle, which is where I'm doing workshops and everything live for the members of that group. So just busy. I launched a podcast, and so finally, how long have I talked about this, right? Like, I'm going to do a podcast. I want to do a podcast. And I finally pulled the trigger. However, I pulled the trigger right in the middle of a move. So things are crazy. Like, things are a little bit nuts right now, but it's all good stuff. Like, nothing bad. It's all really good, exciting stuff. But yeah, I've been busy.
Awesome. So I want to let everybody know, too, that we're hanging out at iSynergy headquarters today. They are the presenting sponsor of DOYO Live Digital Marketing Interactive Design Conference coming back October 17th and 18th. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a keynote speaker. I'm going to keep that under wraps for right now. And we've got a location as well. I'm just going to tease that out. If you want to know who, where, and how that announcement is going to be made, subscribe to our email list at DOYO Live. And in sometime in today's broadcast, I think Steve Cross, creative director of iSynergy, said he was going to drop on by since I'm squatting at their office today. All right, so let's dig in. Let's talk about influencer marketing. What do you think, Dhariana? First and foremost, you by social media today, social media standard, you were, dubbed a social media influencer, and not many people get that title. What's your take on influencer marketing?
I mean, even with my agency, we have a lot of restaurant clients and hospitality clients, and influencer marketing is so essential to what we do and getting the word out. We work with some of the top food influencers in the country, which is really cool. It's been amazing to watch. We've been with some of them since they were just starting and only had like 10,000 followers, and now they're like these huge brands, and that's really exciting to watch. But I mean, influencer marketing is the easiest way to effectively grow an organic audience, and that's an audience that's actually interested in what you're talking about. So it's right now, it's if you want to grow quickly, because everything's so saturated and organic reach is hard to get and all this other stuff I'm hearing. Influencer marketing is really a great tool to kind of help you grow quickly and efficiently.
So Deanna, what's your take on influencer marketing?
Well, I mean, everything that Dhariana said, I also think like we do a lot of, and you do as well. I know you did quite a bit of this the first year of DOYO as the micro influencer, and really utilizing the people in the community that are influencers, right? That can make an impact, that can encourage someone to believe in your product. And in your case, it was your first year launching DOYO Live, which was totally new to the area. And you really did a great job of using that micro influencing to use the influencers that were local to buy into what DOYO was until it kind of proved itself on its own. So, I mean, there's definitely value in being an influencer.
Influencer before it was, I think, kind of dubbed the term influencer. Because now we have to put a label on it, right? We have to call.
We put labels on everything, don't we? So there's and I'm not going to go off on a sidetrack because you know that I could. But like we have these little hot words right now, and everybody is one of them, or or they're using it to title themselves, and it's just kind of funny because it's really not what it's supposed to be.
So, do you think it's a real thing?
Influencers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How so?
Well,
Well, I
I mean,
think
I'm always going to challenge you. I mean, but
I
yeah.
don't care. I mean, obviously, when you've got somebody who is an influencer, they have the ability, and go back to the name, to influence their audience to either buy a product or change an opinion or look at a purpose a little bit differently. So they have the ability to influence people. That's what an influencer is, and that's why companies are grabbing onto it to reach out to people that may not be in that circle, to let them know, like, to bring them on board and to grow their base.
yeah, and I don't think influencing is like a new thing. It's just something old that was kind of renamed. You know, there's always been influencers, celebrities in ads. That's an influencer. When you have brand advocates, that's an influencer. If you invite the right people to an event, they're
To reach out to people that may not be in that circle, to let them know, like, to bring them on board and to grow their base.
yeah.
I'm hearing feedback. Is that like my
I'm hearing
computer?
feedback too.
Something old that was kind of renamed. You know, there's always been influencers, celebrities in ads. That's an influencer.
Steve, I think you're the troublemaker right now.
Yeah.
The right people to an event.
Yeah, I muted Steve for just a second, and he dropped. He'll be back. So, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Cross
I was
was
like,
jumping
what is
in.
happening? I hear myself again.
I know.
Steve Cross was jumping in. So I agree with that. So companies have always hired spokespersons, right? That's not a new thing. Celebrity to endorse a product in order to be able to sell more of the product. And I think that the ultimate game changer in now is the fact that because people build up followings on social media, that they have an audience and they have somebody to go out and speak to, people are trying to figure out how they monetize that from their own personal perspective. And then brands are obviously trying to tie into that. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have the audio fixed. The bottom left-hand corner, joining the Brady Bunch here.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
And Deanna
I
look
like monitors in my office, and I'm like, audio. Where's it at?
Steve Cross, creative director for iSynergy. Thank you so much for dropping by. I really appreciate it. We're in the midst of having a conversation about influencer marketing. You run a marketing agency. Have you guys done any work with influencer marketing?
You know what? We do a lot of research on it, and I heard you talking about it. And I got to say, when it comes to our small market here of Youngstown, I don't think it's been penetrated. I don't think anybody utilizes it enough. I think we're there for it. I think Dhariana would know better on a national level. Yeah, we're getting influenced here. But when it comes to a local influencer, I would kind of say, Dennis, you're probably the closest thing that we have around here.
So what you're saying is I'm not charging enough.
Yeah, right, exactly.
That's interesting. So let's talk a little bit about the downside of influencer marketing. Dhariana, I'll go to you first. So like,
downside is,
are these true marketing people, or are they just people that build followings and do they know about strategy?
So, yeah, I get a little controversial on this.
Am I getting you in trouble right now?
I am open to talk about it and how I feel about the situation. Being a New Yorker, as Deanna said, I'm just going to put it out there. These people who are influencers, they're really great at building up their audience, and I cannot take anything away from them when it comes to that. I think a big problem is that you can buy a following, you can buy engagement. So it's up to the marketer or the marketing agency to really go over it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that the audience is real, that the engagement is real, that it ticks all the boxes, that the audience that they are speaking to is correct. So we do our due diligence and we go through the comments and we'll click on the profiles and go and check out if is it real, is it not. So that's one thing. I'm glad you brought up the strategy thing, because I don't believe that because you've been able to grow a large following on one network, you know strategy. And so, that's where people get a little bit uncomfortable. But no, I will call you out. Just because you were able to grow this large following, there's a lot of factors to it. You could have been an early adopter, and therefore you were able to grow a large following. Stroke of luck, and then you just grew this large following. So just because you were able to do it on one network doesn't mean that it can translate to another network, or that you necessarily have an actual strategy in place.
That's a good point. So here's my experience with working with influencers, even from DOYO Live in year one back in 2016, and not just from having people like yourselves on, Steve, Dhariana, and Deanna, that have a following, and obviously we understand that, we tap into that, but more so just about the knowledge that you have is what I appreciate genuinely from social media world. But the fact of the matter is this, that in year one, we gave tickets away to people that we thought had big followers in social media, on Instagram, on Twitter. And I feel like they did a pretty decent job of probably creating a little bit of awareness for the conference, probably not more than what we did. But secondarily to that, what we learned from year one to year two to year three is that when we actually asked people to start putting skin in the game, so they said, we're an influencer, give us a ticket to your conference. My response was, well, here's an affiliate link.
Yeah.
And you will get paid $50 every time that somebody signs up to come to DOYO Live. Use your influence. If you got thousands of followers and you think you can move the needle, you can make a lot of money off of this.
For sure.
And this is the total amount of people, are you ready for this, that signed up for that program that were, that not like yourself and Deanna that were involved, was absolutely zero. When it came to actually, what something that Steve and I have talked about is that clicks are one thing.
Yeah.
Business is a whole nother thing.
Through. Right. Exactly.
And nobody wants to sign up for that when it comes to influencer. Yeah, they're going to get a lot of likes to a post, but at the end of the day, when it comes to putting skin in the game, I have found very, very few influencers have the ability to actually sell anything.
Yeah. I agree with you.
I agree with both of you guys. And I think a lot of times, at least I'm talking from like Youngstown, Ohio, not New York, which I think is something a little bit different, but in our community, in our area, I think some of the people that have the most influence don't have that 10,000 plus followers.
Of course, yeah.
There's some people in the community that really, they do speak and people do listen and they are influenced by them, but their following is a lot smaller. So I don't really I know the vanity numbers, there's some perks to getting followers up to a certain point, but when it comes to being an influencer, I don't think that matters, at least not locally.
Steve, that's a good point. So Steve, on your side of the equation, let's say that you've got a client that owns a pizza shop. You said you like New York City pizza, so
yeah, the thing about New York.
That's the top of mind to me, right? So let's say you got a client that owns a pizza shop. Mm-hmm. Would you ever go into that strategy with them and say, we've identified a handful of people, 3 or 4 people in the Youngstown community that have big followings on social media, and we can pay them $250 a post, and on a weekly basis they'll do something on Instagram for you where they'll snap a picture on Instagram of them eating your pizza. Would you ever suggest that strategy?
In Youngstown, not a chance. No way. I'd be out of business in a year. I guess, and this is a question for Dhariana, how many followers do you need to be considered an influencer?
So
like what Deanna was saying, if I need 10,000 to be an influencer, but I might only have 5 people that I'm actually really influencing, I would rather have somebody that has 500 followers and they're influencing 450 of them.
Exactly. Yeah. We've seen the landscape change a lot. So, now all these other new terms are coming out, like nano influencer if you have under 5,000 followers, or micro influencers up to 20,000. Then you have the big guys who have like 1 million followers plus, and it's insane. So yeah, that's why we always try to take a look at what's actually happening with the audience. Besides, you can always ask an influencer for their stats, and we do that. But we also take a look ourselves, just because we want to know, is it actual people engaging, or are they like in a little comment pod where they go tell their friends, comment on this? We try to do algorithms and stuff like that. Yeah. And not that that's a bad thing, because those people can still, if they're interacting with them on a daily basis, they could still convince them to buy your product or service. So that's not necessarily terrible, but is it really moving the needle? That's what's hard to say. So now we've come up with these categories for influencers based on follower numbers, but there's just so much more that goes into when I personally work with an influencer.
So how do you guys get that success?
And it's not only about, their follower number. There's other factors that go into us working with an influencer. For example, what kind of content they create. So maybe they don't have a large following, but they take beautiful photos, or their video work is amazing. So we'll invite them to come in to the restaurant that we work with, and it's content for us. And essentially you're not paying hundreds of thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars for a photo shoot. You can get content out of working with an influencer. So there's also value based on the actual content they create. So
that's not a bad byproduct, by the way. And so I'll go back to Steve. Steve had a question that was, how do you measure the success of an influencer program? I'll go first. From my own perspective, I still think that we've gotten away from, in digital marketing, the awareness game and the impressions delivery, which was what marketing had been built on pre-digital. The amount of road traffic, the amount of viewers to a TV station. So I do find value in the awareness game, but I put more emphasis on the success rate at this point of saying, look, you want to be, you're an influencer, that's fine. Sign up for our affiliate program and we'll drive it that way. So we're going to measure your success based upon how many tickets that you can sell. Deanna, how would you approach the success game?
Well, I think that's a really easy way. That what you're doing is a great way to track it, because as we know in social media, it's not always easy to track everything. But in that particular case, you found a solution because you're going to influence. Now there's a dollar amount. You can see how many times somebody's clicked on those links or actually purchased a ticket if they did the whole conversion and got them over. Actually using an influencer, though, it's, in my opinion, I don't do it a whole lot, but it's hard to really measure that success. I haven't really found that answer other than, can you see sales have increased? Can you see if traffic to your site has increased and if it's converted? And you can contribute it to that influencer, but there also can be other variables that come into play at that particular time. So I don't know. Do you do that at all?
Dhariana, what's your measuring stick?
It changes based on what the campaign is and what results we want to drive. So like I mentioned before, sometimes it's not about them driving traffic. It's more about what kind of content can we also get from this person. But I think it's different because here it's New York City and we have really influencers with large followings. But with the restaurants I work with, we'll bring in influencers. Sometimes the smaller guys constantly get reposted by bigger food publications like Eater or Thrillist, or Infatuation's another big one. And we'll see traffic to the restaurants that we come in with when they get reposted by the bigger guys. So there's a lot of different value kind of ROI things that we look at when we work with an influencer. So again, it depends on the campaign. Sometimes we need content and we know that this person creates great content. They might not drive traffic through the door, but we get them in for that, or hopefully we get reposted by a bigger publication like Eater. If we notice that someone's getting reposted by a big publication, we'll invite that person in. So it really changes for us campaign to campaign.
Interesting. So what do you think as far as, can you self-proclaim your influencer status?
Like the social media influencer status? Yes, I can, because the articles that
No, not you. No. So let me back up. Come on. I wouldn't do that to you.
No, but that's interesting because
you've been dubbed a social media influencer by somebody else.
I want to add value, and I don't want to do I don't want it just for the title. I want to earn that, you
you
work with them to figure out,
Dhariana.
We're talking about.
Let me restate. So you have there's a nationally recognized, publication, social media today that recognized you as that, right? So no, I'm saying, can just general person off the street, because I get these emails. I'm an influencer. Who dubbed them that influencer? Steve, can you self-proclaim guru status of being an influencer? What do you think?
I mean, what's stopping you to proclaim it? But what's behind it?
If no one says no, right?
Right. Right. I come like myself good looking every day. It doesn't mean I got it. You know?
It's
Yeah, I think it's all in the audience and all in vertical and what type of space your client or your campaign wants to live.
Deanna, can you self-proclaim influencer status?
You can do anything you want. And I think, unfortunately, because this is still pretty new, it's a pretty new arena. I mean, it's not, but people are just starting to catch on. You can call yourself whatever you want and they buy into it. They take it as fact. And I was going to ask Dhariana as soon as she gets settled again, because Dhariana, you made the comment that you want to earn that, and you have earned that. But how do you feel? Like, how does an influencer earn that?
That's a good question. They earn it through, I guess, their following and showing that, people do love their content, and they obviously resonate with, if it's not a bot audience, they obviously are doing something right if this many people are resonating with their content and with their message and interacting with them. So, I mean, you kind of have to fake it till you make it in some cases. So, you are going to say, hi, I'm an influencer. Can I do this and that? So they can build up their portfolios. So
right.
It's kind of a weird.
So I have a question, another question, and Steve, feel free, whoever wants to answer it. And I know, Dennis, you and I have talked about this, but I'll joke with Dennis, right, that sometimes people will create an Instagram account on one platform, and then all of a sudden they understand strategy, they're an influencer, and I call it the coffee and champagne crew in a sense, because we can talk about coffee and champagne, and we're going to get a strong audience because they're fun things to follow. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if I created a champagne, right? Because every time I post something with champagne, I know you're laughing. I get a ton of followers and I'm just posting pictures of champagne. Am I an influencer?
Cult followings in wine, chocolate, craft beer, champagne, Steve, coffee. What do you think?
You're not an influencer. You're an aggregator.
Explain.
That's great.
That's an interesting.
You're using hashtags. You're aggregating people that follow and like a certain topic. So you're aggregating that audience. That doesn't make you an influencer. You're not influencing the way behaviors are done, or conversions, or transactions, or share. Well, maybe you are influencing shares. So I guess in one context you could be. I'm kind of talking through this as I think about it, but I see that as just a human face to a blog roll up that I can automate, with some scripting. Which I know, I'm pretty sure you guys can do socially, because you guys know better than I do. But from that, I think of that as more of a, you're just curating and you're aggregating all that stuff together rather than influencing it.
That's probably, and I'm not just saying this because you're a sponsor, but this is why we did pull you in. That's probably the best description that I've ever heard for that exact that exact situation.
Yeah.
I would agree. And you're not sponsoring anything with me. So,
right. So here's my interesting question back to you then, Deanna.
Yeah.
So I think that when and I agree with Steve's synopsis on that, but I think that the maybe the mantra, the outside perception looking in, is that it's easy for those individuals to build those huge followings because of those cult brands. Like, it's easy for DOYO Live to build this audience and marketing because we're talking marketing, and most digital marketing people are on these social media channels. But at the end of the day, we've been at it for 3.5 years. We've grown our following to, like on Instagram, to a modest, 2,200 followers. And we do deliver a lot of impressions, and we obviously see the conversion. But at the end of the day, when you look at the amount of marketing people that are on channels that we can directly talk to, either we're doing something really wrong, or else maybe is it as easy as we think it is.
That's fair. That's fair to say. I'm just only speaking from the place of, like, when I post certain of those cult brands or the cult names, that I do have higher engagement. There's no content behind it. Other than a picture and some hashtags, like Steve said,
That's great
and
strategy.
my engagement
Yeah.
is really high. But
That's
there's nothing really of value other than it's just fun.
So this is a nice segue into promoting Steve, iSynergy, and our webinar next on February 20th. We are going to dig into psychographics, digging down deeper into buyer personas, and the fact of the matter is that maybe your marketing audience also likes champagne.
Oh, they do.
Okay, there we go, right?
Come on,
don't
you
want
don't see real
them.
media? I mean, of course.
So join us for that free webinar on February 20th. Steve's going to be the star of the show of that. That's one of our DOYO Live marketing webinar series. So in any case, let's see here. What else? I wanted to plug that. I love the conversation about influencer marketing. What else do we know? What else do we want to talk about on influencer marketing? Oh, the downside. Let's talk about the downside, right? So like, when are influencers not really influencers? What's fake? What's real? What should you look out for? Should you not start the next fire festival and hire a bunch of influencers and then get sued because of the fact that obviously the Federal Trade Commission is now, or the FCC is monitoring anything that's supposed to be a sponsored post? Let's talk about the underbelly of influencer side marketing. What are the do's and don'ts? What should you look for?
Does anyone want to go first?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dhariana.
No, you're the expert. Have at it.
Yeah, well, again, it's about taking the time to research who this person is. Take a look at comments, take a look at the accounts that are liking the content that this person is putting out there. Make sure that that account is real. Take a look at fluctuations, and so we go into several different types of posts that person may have, and we check out what seems to do better or not. So besides food influencers, we work with lifestyle influencers, so they might not talk about food all the time, but they do post about food every once in a while. So we'll go through and take a look and compare how the posts do, food versus not food. So there's just go research. It takes a while, but it's better to spend the time and be sure, rather than to either hire this person or have them come in and give away your product and then have nothing kind of come from it.
Let's get more detailed with it. So Logan Paul, obviously a huge YouTuber, started on Vine. Was getting paid $350,000 by Dunkin' Donuts to do Vine videos, and then Vine went away. Wanted to obviously capitalize off of YouTube. Disney's backing him, and then all of a sudden comes off the rails with just a lot of stuff that nobody wanted to be associated with at that particular time.
Yeah, that happens. That happens often. So yeah, take a look back. Sometimes they'll surprise you with like, oh my gosh, this doesn't match with our brand values, like this new piece of content that's been put out there. But again, that goes into doing your research. Just take a look at what they post about, their language, what subjects they cover. Is it just a popular account because they're posting memes or champagne? Puppies. If it's just puppies and that's what they get the likes on, then that's not for you. And I always talk about content being relevant. So take a look if do they speak about the same things that fall in line with your brand? Again, it doesn't have to be like completely exactly like I said with food. Like we don't only use food influencers for our food accounts. We do lifestyle influencers as well. So you can switch it up as long as it's somewhat related, or you can loop it back to your brand. Then take a look at that. But yeah, it's just all in the research. And sometimes you have to just go in and do it manually. Just because someone has 100,000 people following them doesn't mean that they get engagement, doesn't mean that it's the right type of engagement, doesn't mean that it's your particular audience. So those are the three things I would kind of start with.
All right, good advice. Deanna, I've got a young man out of New York City. His name is Just Win. He's got 500,000 followers on YouTube. He's huge in the sneaker game. He reached out to me through my marketing efforts, wants to speak at DOYO Live. He wants to come here on his own dime. He feels like he can have influence over his audience, especially in North